Okay. And we can get to Solartopia. I know I'm a bit of a dreamer, but what can I tell? My hope is I'm going to do another version of this book, by the way, and I'm hoping that I can call it From Obama Mania to Solartopia, because I do think that they will win, and we can talk about that next. Yes. Yes. I wish you'd asked me that earlier because it should have been part of the discussion. But nuclear power plants create a certain number of jobs when they're being built, and unfortunately they do get the IBEW and behind them because of that reason. But then when they build the plants, the jobs disappear, and the only things that are left in business are the bars. But with renewable energy, with wind and solar and geothermal and tidal and biofuels and all the others, there's permanent jobs. I mean, the jobs are permanent because, somebody's got to clean the glass on the solar panels and somebody's got to go grease the windmills. And there's just going to be no end to the thousands, millions of jobs that will be created. And I hope, and I will fight for them to be union jobs. I'd like to see the, yes. Oh, yes, please, yes. There's a microphone there.
Jimmy Carter, you mentioned. I'm really disappointed with all of the great peace activities and stuff that he does. Is he still pro-nuclear, and is there anything that can be done about that?
Gosh, I don't know, actually. I haven't seen him lately. I did run into him on an airplane once, and he had that really big smile. But I don't know if he's still pro-nuclear power. He may be, but if he still has those restrictions of putting them underground and away from people, then they're not going to be built. So I don't know where Jimmy stands. But Hyman Rickover, it's very interesting. Hyman Rickover, who was the Navy admiral who built the first nuclear plant at Shippingport, came later to say that he regretted it and he renounced nuclear power. Partly because it was clear to him the first reactor at Shippingport was very small, and they built it without any real concern about how much it cost, because it was a military project. And then when he saw what happened to the commercial reactors, where they just built them bigger and bigger and everything went to the lowest bidder, I think he lost his heart. Yes?
Is there a way for just the average citizen to invest in some of these wind companies? Are any of them publicly traded, or?
Yes, there are publicly traded wind companies, and I will not personally recommend any of them, but you have to do your own research. And I will tell you that there'll be plenty of renewable energy companies that will go bankrupt. It's one thing to have a great technology, it's another thing to have great management. So if Warren Buffett is building one, I would invest in it. And there are other people around that you can invest in that are private, and but watch it. There are certain technologies. I will say one thing. Like many of us are, and I'm part of this. I've been investing in energy efficient light bulbs, which last longer and use less energy, but they also have mercury in them, and I'm very concerned about compact fluorescence. I think the future of lighting is with LED and also maybe plasma. I'm not 100% sold on compact fluorescence. We've also made mistakes with certain wind machines. You can, if you really work at it, you can kill birds with windmills. Now these guys, I got to tell you, I'm very deeply moved by the concern that the nuclear industry has showed for the bird population around windmills. And so Cato and these other institutes have come out with these big studies, and you can find wind installments that will kill birds, and one of them is at Altamont Pass, California. They never should have built windmills there. It's a narrow canyon. There are a lot of raptors there, and they built these in the early days. The machines were small, and they had lattice-work towers, and so the birds perch on the towers, and then if they see a rodent or a Republican, they will dive down, and they will get hit by the blades. Right now, the new machines, they have tubular towers because they last longer. The birds can't perch on them, and they're very big, and they go much slower. They go fast at the tip. But, with tens of thousands of windmills on Earth, the windmills in this country, in the world, kill about 30,000 birds a year, which is too many, but compare that to the billion that are killed by house cats, automobiles, tall buildings, the whole deal. So, it's not perfect, and then add in how many fish are killed at the average nuclear plant, including, the nuclear power in... they always dump hot water into the rivers or streams or lakes. And in France and in Alabama, they were forced to shut, last summer, nuclear plants because the water that they were dumping in downstream was too hot. over 90 degrees Fahrenheit. If you can imagine that, they were dumping water into rivers and streams. I mean, you could open a restaurant downstream and just pull the fish cooked out of the stream. And so, you know, this is something, if they're really that concerned about wildlife, let's talk about the fish. Yes, Mark.
Hey, Harvey. First off, thank you for tirelessly taking this
Thank
message
you.
out to folks and being here in Missouri. Really appreciate it. I wanted to
My
say
pleasure.
one quick thing on QUIP. Ameren has said that they will be going to the Missouri legislature in January to ask them to repeal the 1976 voter-passed QUIP prohibition, okay? So that means we have the rest of September, October, and November, and December to talk to, first off, our legislative candidates between now and November 4th, and then our legislators and legislators-elect between then and January when the legislature comes into session. You can bet your bottom dollar Ameren is talking to all those people right now. So if you care about this issue, don't wait until the legislature comes in session and they're considering the bill that the Ameren has gotten legislators to file. Call people, bird dog candidates, talk to them now, write letters to the editor now. I hope everybody got a chance to see that petition we were passing around. If you haven't, look for it and sign it. But beyond that, take further action to, between now and Election Day, talk up this issue and try and get your legislator or your legislative candidates to make commitments to oppose a repeal of QUIP. It's essential, and this is a window of opportunity we've got right now, because the legislature doesn't come into session until January, so they can't pass anything till then. So now's when we've got to strike while the iron's hot.
Yes.
Oh,
Construction work in progress.
Yeah, I'll let you talk about it a little more.
No, it's okay. Yeah, if you don't want to pay for these nuclear plants as they're being built, you got to make sure the legislature doesn't let this go through. And you got to do it. And same this coming week, call the senators and Congress people and tell them to vote against any inclusion of nuclear subsidies for building new nuclear plants in the energy bill. Kay, did you want to say anything further about that? Okay. Yes, please.
Yes, how you doing?
I'm great.
It's
How are
good
the
to see-
Rams?
Good to see somebody's, well, they're coming along.
Okay.
I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I've been down here about 2 years, and I had the fortune of going to school in Ohio. I went to Wittenberg in Springfield, Ohio, back in the 70s. During that period, I had opportunity to go down to Cuernavaca, Morelos, Mexico, and study with Ivan Illich. And he wrote a book called A Political Statement of Limits to Growth. Some of the issues that you're talking about, he talked about back in, as far back as 72. So my questions specifically are this. One, the implications of this are that our society is going to have to make certain sacrifices in terms of lifestyle. I'd like to hear you address any that you can see. Secondly, it's necessary to begin to train our young people and put these kinds of energy technology curriculums early on in even elementary to start to get them prepared in science and math. And thirdly, what do you think the implications are for third world countries, very poor countries, the very, very poor people? How do you see them facing into this whole process of I mean, it's almost like in the next 5 years, there's going to be more change than has happened in the last 50 years.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think, let's start with the last part. I mean, I think that the countries that have not so-called industrialized and haven't built big grids and haven't built big coal and oil and nuke and gas facilities have the opportunity to go straight to renewables. We've had some countries that have not built telephone grids and have gone straight to cell phones. Now, of course, we have problems with cell phones, which need to be solved, but the reality is that countries should not be building grids anymore. These, so-called non-developed or underdeveloped and impoverished countries really should go straight to solar cookers and things like that. In terms of our lifestyle, I'm advocating nobody buy a new car until 2011 when the Volt comes out, the total electric car. A complete boycott on all new automobiles. We have to restore mass transit. And this is a big piece of the Solartopian puzzle. Just because you have a conspiracy theory doesn't mean there wasn't a conspiracy. We all know that there was a conspiracy in this country, led by General Motors, Alfred P. Sloan, to destroy the mass transit system in this country.